change your mind, if you change your mind.
If I ever consider of this episode's premise and direction after watching it again, I can instantly say that they're intentionally trying to make this sense by not making sense at all. And judging of how that people were so drawn into a single pair of roles that they just didn't remember anything when it came to this episode. I have to be real with you. This trial thing actually feels a lot more realistic than you give it credit for. In the trial, Steven is on trial, obviously, and his lawyer is a Blue Zircon who actually agrees with him the most. And considering that most court episodes really center around people being guilty or not, I have to be real with you. The fact that the Blue Zircon actually contributes much when it comes to this episode, and after rewatching this episode, after watching the whole series for the first time back in 2020, despite getting poofed, she still lost her sanity since that she still didn't got the answer on who really shadowed Pink Diamond. Believe me, every time I think about this episode after rewatching it, it really feels a lot more sense when, in Blue Zircon's opinion, it doesn't make sense at all. And judging of how that she is trying to find the answers, which includes Steven and the other characters, and while Pearl is literally the only character who has all the answers onto how all this is happening, it really shows that nothing really makes sense at the end when you can make the argument that you want to believe it actually happened in a different way. With this information in mind, some people who are like Yellow Diamond in this trial situation would think for their own conclusion that Rose Quartz still shadowed Pink Diamond after hearing it for the first time. And yet at the same time, when other people are trying to convince her differently about what really happened, believe me, she can't be able to think of what really happened on how she got the information, and she had to come to that conclusion on her own. Every time that I think of Blue Zircon stated that because it doesn't make sense, it sums up a lot that it's really foreshadowing the events of a single pair of walls, all the while that this whole trial situation doesn't help anyone's case, and yet at the same time, it's still bound to happen regardless due to the point of view of Yellow and Blue Diamond. I just think that every time that this trial thing is unavoidable without resolving anything, I can instantly tell for a fact that what Steven is dealing with is mainly of how that he needs to step up on being the hero, but at the same time, he just doesn't understand how Rose shadowed Pink Diamond. And every time that he tried to explain it and mostly lie about it, Blue Diamond's conclusion is that Rose used a sword to shadow Pink Diamond. As far as I'm concerned, it's difficult to go against this whole trial thing, mainly the fact that everyone is in the wrong and clearly don't have all the answers of what really happened. And even when Blue Zircon tried to justify what really happened by expressing on what happened of Rose shadowing Pink Diamond or the alternative of what really happened, it's really confusing. That's really what makes this episode good, is the fact that it foreshadows a single pair of roles, and then whenever I think about how the trial system works in Homeworld, it makes me convinced that the gems, including the diamonds, aren't really that intelligent. Obviously, it's weird to think about of the outcome of the season, but believe me, I really feel like that's really the case onto why the diamonds being genocides or Nazis is something I'm not really against. Obviously, it's unavoidable to ignore that, but as far as I'm concerned, it makes me think that this whole trial episode, for how it functions when it comes to Homeworld, it just gave me the conclusion that all the gems, especially the diamonds, aren't thinking clearly, and when it comes to White Diamond, I'm starting to convince that the problem is that with this season, when it comes to the second half being rushed, she should have had a lot of fleshing out, like how Yellow and Blue Diamond had fleshing out. With this episode being the introduction of Homeworld itself, and we don't get to come back to this place until the final episodes of the season, I have to be really real with you. There was a lot exploring when it comes to Homeworld, and it's really a shame that for how rushed this season was, there was less to see involving Homeworld itself. And believe me, I actually felt that after watching the show for the first time. It's just a shame that later on in this season, it shows how rushed it all is. And as far as I'm concerned, there are so many elements that would have made this show, mainly from this season, better. And as far as I'm concerned, this episode alone is a demonstration on how it's setting up so many potential when it comes to the characters, especially the diamonds, but all we're witnessing later on in this season is the fact that we ended up getting a rushed season with so much missed potential that really damages the credibility from Steven Universe. Believe me, I can't be able to avoid on the fact that people have mixed opinions towards this show, even to this day. And what makes this episode more special to me is the fact that I really went through a wild ride of so much emotions, especially revisiting it. That's what really makes these episodes a lot more special and why reasons of this marathon existing in the first place. Granted, I'm still going to express my opinions on how the second half of the season really affected this season on not being the best, but then again, judging on the fact that I'm going to be revisiting Change Your Mind, it sums up a lot that my analysis of Change Your Mind vs. Futures finale was one of my worst projects that I've made. Granted, it's over-exaggerating, but at the same time, even after watching all the episodes, it really feels like that a lot has missed out. And I wasn't being able to be a lot more fair towards Change Your Mind, for it being a lot more harsher towards it in comparison to Future's finale. Granted, it's debatable on which finale I prefer when it comes to the themes and elements that they have, but believe me when I say this, whenever I come back to a show, I don't usually do something like this by binge watching it again despite skipping out episodes that I've already talked about or don't want to review. I'm giving this episode an 8.5 out of 10.